Discuss one of the biggest areas in your life that you need to put constant focus on: your finances. Money is the root of all evil. That only applies when it is in the wrong hands. On an interesting note, many of us finish our primary and secondary education without ever being aware of the crucial aspect of personal finance in our lives. Only in college or university is it that we start to realize that the financial control over our lives is key to survival in the society. However, being aware of the good practices to control your finances and actually practicing them are the factors that decide whether money is really the root of all evil. After all, it does reflect on our credit scores. Here are the 10 good habits to maintain healthy personal finance. 1. Tracking income and expenses. Undoubtedly, this is the fundamental step of any financial planning and controlling. As the average person, tracking income is not as complicated as tracking expenses, especially if the sources of income are not many. Tracking expenses requires some discipline and consistency in our daily habits, such as recording the amount of cash we spent, keeping the credit card bill we paid, keeping receipts of our expenses, loan information, tax records, and online purchases. It gives us a better idea of our personal finance and how it can help us to achieve our goals while reminding us to stay financially healthy by not spending more than our income. 2. Priority allocations. While it is most basic to suggest that we should plan our budgets, there are definitely certain priorities which we should prioritize our finances for. When we receive our paychecks at the end of the month, the first step will always be to allocate these funds to the priorities we set in line with our goals. Such priority funds may be our savings, loans, our children's education, retirement funds, and investments. By setting this as the first step of our budget, we can work out how much we have left to spend or to prepare for other necessities. 3. Emergency funds. Other than insurances which can cover certain amount of our losses in accidents, we are advised to keep up to 10% of our monthly income for emergency uses. For instance, having an accident which can keep us away from work means we can utilize these funds which we have already saved up before our daily expenses. As surprise scenarios can be quite unpredictable, it is best we prepare the umbrella before the rain. 4. Staying away from high-interest credit or totally away from debts. At some point in our lives, it would be almost impossible to stay free of loans. Because of this, we have to consider the loans with the lowest interest rates we can apply for to reduce our repayment. After all, any interest rate imposed upon the principal is the main income of the debtor. Paying way more than what we have borrowed will only increase unnecessary expenses. Besides, some creditors allow advance repayments for us to finish the repayment before the planned payment period. In this case, we might even save up on the interest of the remaining payment period. Staying debt-free means gaining more income and also a better credit score, which serves to be an indicator of our healthy financial status to creditors. Healthy credit scores allow us to obtain a loan more easily in the future as well. 5. Creating a shopping list and impulsive shopping. Buying on impulse means unnecessary spending, which will reduce the flexibilities of controlling your expenses, as it also means reducing the spending on necessary items. We should not purchase any luxury items when we do not have extra cash, and even if we want to, it would usually be the money left in our monthly budget after all our financial priorities are settled. To control impulsive shopping, it is best we write down a list of items we need to buy, so those which are not in the list are considered as unnecessary. Similar to long-term and short-term goals, we can always save up for luxury items which we can only afford later. 6. Purchasing value. We would always tend to ensure our purchases give us the value for our money and no after-sales problems at all. In particular circumstances, sometimes it is better to pay a bit more for products that will effectively last longer than buying the cheap ones which we have to constantly replace or repair. In contrast, not all products are better simply because they are more expensive. The prices of such products are down to a multitude of factors, such as competition, consumer perception, quality of materials, cost of methods, etc. We should seek reviews from experts and other consumers before comparing these products to one another and deciding which gives us the best value according to our needs. 7. Investment. Only allocating monthly income for certain investments does not guarantee profit, and therefore, every wise investor has plans for timely exits from their investments to avoid losses. In other words, we must possess sufficient knowledge and the right information to invest in any of the various financial instruments. Otherwise, we would suffer losses without being able to understand the reasons. On the other hand, we must monitor our investment funds to avoid losses as well as to seize fine opportunities to gain more profit from our investments. An even more secure way of preventing losses in our investments would be to have an exit strategy, especially when we can foresee the circumstances. 8. Retirement funds. Even if governments enforce laws for the employees and the working citizens to allocate retirement funds, sometimes it would not be enough to live comfortably, particularly if you wish to retire at an earlier age. Besides, what good does it do for us if we have prepared the funds for our children to graduate from university or college if we end up in poor financial status when we retire? Having a retirement plan is a long-term goal which determines how we would like to live our lives when we retire. On the contrary, struggling to have such financial ability at retirement age means we have to delay retirement work for a few more years. 9. Consistent raise. Once our income is raised, we should not forget our savings and investments for our future should also be proportionally raised. For instance, the rate of our savings per month is 20% of our monthly income of $5,000. That translated to $1,000. In the next year onwards, our income is raised to $6,000, and so the savings, based on 20% of $6,000, should be $1,200. In the case where our expenses are not increased in comparison with our income, extra income means more flexibility of utilizing our money. Another way of raising our savings is to increase it from 20% of our income to 25% of our income, even when we do not get a pay raise. 10. Analyzing the financial condition and improvising the budget. With all the necessary steps taken to manage our financial status, we often overlook the review of our financial performance on a particular time basis. The reviews of our financial status usually are carried out at the end of the year or the month. Such timing is usually to see if our plans were executed well enough to help us achieve our financial goals. Such review helps us to understand the effectiveness of our financial management and allows us to identify the problems and the room for improvement. Once we have finished reviewing, we can proceed to the details which we can adjust, organize, and replace to fulfill our financial demands for the following months or further in the future. Here is a rather optimistic example of improving the monthly budget. This month will be the last month you will have to pay installments for your car. As you used up to 10% of your salary for the monthly installments of your car, you will have that amount extra cash you could utilize from next month onwards. So what will you do with that extra cash? Increase retirement funds? Invest in stocks? Run a side business? Or reward yourself? Having more or less money means we have to replan our budget. Nevertheless, there will always be room for improvement, even when our financial performance matches or exceeds our targets. Analyzing our financial status with our expectations will provide much-needed improvement.